Welcome to the Eat Better, Move Better, Live Better podcast presented by Flourish with Tracy, where we'll dive into the realms of holistic wellness, plant-based nutrition, yoga, and self-care to help you live your best life. Tune in every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday at 8 a.m. Eastern for our special segments. Meditation Monday. Start your week with mindfulness. Wellness Wednesdays. Get the midweek boost you need. Sadhana Saturdays. Dedicate weekends to personal growth. Join us as we explore and discuss all things to eat better, move better, and live better. Welcome to Wellness Wednesday. Have you ever felt out of balance, that you've lost your center of gravity, or you need to restore your equilibrium? Well, today we'll discuss finding balance, restoring and establishing your personal sense of being centered. Our discussion today is for informational purposes only. It is not meant to replace any mental health or medical professional advice. And if you feel deeply out of balance mentally or physically, please seek the advice of your health professional. But before we get started, let's start off with a balancing exercise. Sit up very tall in your chair and raise your hands over your head, palms facing. Take a deep inhale and exhale. Inhale. And as you exhale, lower your hands to your heart center and allow the fingertips to point towards each other so that your elbows are extended out at either side. Grab your tall left finger with your right hand. Close your eyes and slowly quiet your mind. Breathe in and out with a sigh. Your eyes remain closed, and switch your hands and fingers, grabbing your tall right finger with your left hand. Breathe in and out with a sigh. And if you're not able to raise your hands, you can still imagine it in your mind's eye. And raise your hands once again, releasing them over your head, palms facing, and then lower the hands into your lap with an inhale and exhale. And open your eyes. That was an exercise in connecting your left and right sides. The beginning of restoring balance is to remember a simple exercise such as this whenever you may feel out of sorts or anytime you feel you need to relax. And we'll come back to this later, being in balance. It all begins with understanding what is imbalance. Imbalance is lack of balance, the state of being out of proportion where our equilibrium is off, and it can happen in any area of our lives as there are different types of imbalance such as work life, personal relationships, physical movement, food consumption, hormonal, or mental health. And outside of mental health or medical conditions, all imbalance has one thing in common. It's a feeling of being stuck. It means you have experienced a loss of your personal self. You either have too much or not enough. Are you sure, or do you know which one impacts you? Either way, it means that you are in an excessive state. You are either excessively selfless or excessively selfish. Too much selflessness is common, and it leads to not being able to say no, becoming a people pleaser. It's, okay, I'll do that. Sure, let me handle that. Always saying yes. And too much selflessness leads to becoming an enabler or codependent. And too much selfishness is just the opposite. It's being stuck in a pleasure trap. The self is saturated and self-placating and overstimulated. It's like a sponge taking everything in with no energy other than to continue to take it all in for just yourself, and doing all of the things that pleases you, in most instances with ill regard to health, and it can lead to lethargy or dis-ease. But in either case, whether selfishness or selflessness, the individual is stuck. It's a loss of self. So I'll present a few stress reduction practices today. However, if you're feeling imbalanced due to trauma, depression, sadness, or if you feel you're in need of more serious attention, please seek the assistance of a mental health or medical professional. In the United States, there are mental health resources such as the National Institute of Mental Health, or you can dial 988 for additional help. And if you're outside of the United States, be sure to reach out to the resources in your country. You're never alone, and help is always available. Your mental health is important. Your mental health matters. Be sure to call or reach out. Current events, unrest, changes in how we work, live, and socialize sometimes can push us outside of what we deem to be normal. It turns us upside down, and it manifests in different ways, both physically and emotionally. How do you know if you're out of balance? Here are a few signs. It can manifest as changes in your gut health, bloating, weight loss or gain, issues with your bowel or evacuation processing, stress or increases with your blood pressure, dehydration. So we often don't drink enough water, and this impacts our weight and metabolism. Skin issues such as eczema, psoriasis, acne, or rosacea. Energy levels either are wound up, where we crash and burn, which is the selfless state, or totally depleted with no energy to do anything but to add fuel to the selfishness, just like a couch potato. Changes in medication or pre-existing conditions. So as you reflect or analyze, simply acknowledge and be honest with yourself that there is little, too much, or lack thereof something. It happens when we respond or react to any type of crisis or change. We can't help it. We tend to react either one way or the other, and as humans, we're wired that way. It goes back to our beginnings millions of years ago when we had to implement fight or flight for very survival. It's our brain functioning, and it's a chemical thing. Our cells produce two main chemicals which impact our self, serotonin and endorphins. Serotonin impacts our mood, digestion, emotions, appetite. It regulates our sleep, and if it's too low, we will feel sad or down and selfish, as we are dedicating everything to becoming heavy, soaking it all in. And if our levels are too high, we become very animated, almost in a run state. Endorphins regulate how good we feel, and it's our natural pain reliever. And if it's too high, we're stuck in a pleasure trap, and we may be addicted to the things that make us feel good, which can be anything from food, video games, shopping, even exercise, because yes, there is such a thing as too much exercise. It's the addiction that's the root cause. We love endorphins because they make us feel good. And there's a scientific study once where a mouse had two options to escape a box. One option was a direct, clear way out. The other option had an endorphin trigger that it felt good, but it didn't lead to an exit. So which option did the mouse select? The mouse kept triggering the feel-good option and remained stuck in that box. We've heard of a runner's or athlete's high. It's the increase of endorphins that help them feel so good. And we needed that to get away fast when we were in caveman days. But today we don't need it so much, and it leads to selfishness or excessiveness. And as I mentioned, both the selfless and selfish have lost a sense of self. We need a little bit of both. We need to be able to help and do for others just as much as we need to be able to experience the things that make us feel good. So how do we find ourselves and safely balance between the two? The first thing is to navigate our situation so that we can arrive at a new normal. This is where our work begins, is to identify and acknowledge our truth and to identify what we need. Sometimes we may find that we are stuck in both. We can be selfless, giving everything we have to one specific objective while we crash and burn, stuck in a selfishness response. For example, if we're too exhausted working extra long hours after our work shifts have ended for a third consecutive week, which is the selflessness, we may be upset that no one seemed to notice and we decided not to spend time with our favorite friends and instead crash out on the sofa, binge watching a show and emotionally overeating foods that were not in our best interest. Selfish. So now we know how we got here. So how do we navigate to find a symmetry and restore a personal balance? So first, respect your brain and treat your thoughts. Your mind has to arrive before your actions or body movements do. Hold up the mirror and accept your truth, but also realize it'll be okay. Identify what you need to do. You can take out a pen and paper, you can think about it, but fill in this blank. I need to shift or balance blank. And you can write down selflessness or selfishness, or both. Just thinking about how you feel and acknowledging what you need to shift or balance helped you become self-conscious. Now that you're conscious, let's talk about how to balance it. And you can take a stock and inventory of every energy shift. You can ask yourself what just happened, how does it feel, what is different. Everything in our body is fueled by internal energy centers. We have thousands of them. There are 3 major centers that control our cells. Our left side is the cooling down side of our bodies, and when it dominates, we see an excess of the self or the selfishness. It's our nature, it's our connection to the moon. The right side is the connection to the sun. It heats us up. And when that side of our energy center dominates, it intensifies and winding up, getting going, running around, and excess of the self-energy flows away from us as we give it all to others. Right down the middle of our body is our main energy center. It's where the heart center is, and that's where we begin with our breath and our feelings, and that's where we can align the left and the right. And the terminology that we use is actually the sympathetic system and the parasympathetic system. The parasympathetic is the cool down side, and the sympathetic system is the heat up side. And we balance naturally. However, as we age, the ability to do so may decrease as we have changes in our depth perception, muscle mass, reflections, and our coordination. So the good news is when you train balancing and you practice on a regular basis, you can improve stability. You can do that while standing, which is called a static balance, or while walking, which is called a dynamic balance. So if you recall the beginning of our conversation today, I had you connect your left and your right at your heart to help you breathe. At that point, you began to embrace your center, energy center, to connect the left and the right, to beginning to balance it out. So whether you had too much or too little of the self, either way, once you recognize it, you can begin to re-engage. Now you are intentionally training your mind to incorporate both your left side and your right side, terminating in the center where your mind-eye center of balance resides. Sometimes it seems silly, but when you think about how disconnected we've become, it makes sense that we are out of sync or balance. It's chemical. So how does allowing your brain to show up so the rest will follow work? Your mind has to arrive before everything else. So how do you go about that? One of the first things you can do is to learn what your triggers are. What is the thing that makes you focus so much, whether it's too much that makes you fall out of symmetry or too little? And knowing your triggers, your happiness triggers, as well as your triggers that make you angry or upset, are equally important. Those triggers help you identify and establish boundaries. It helps us learn to say no to the things that we've incorrectly associated with happiness, either too much or too little of ourselves. And it's about setting those boundaries to help you stay in your lane. Guess what? When you set healthy boundaries, it helps others stay in their lane as well. So here's an exercise we're going to try. I'd like you to close your eyes. We're going to practice saying no. Vision yourself standing in front of a mirror. See yourself, look at yourself, and see yourself saying no to something that you wish to change. The thing that keeps you out of balance. It could be eating cheesy fries or staying at work past quitting time, taking yet one more project that you know you really don't have time for, or giving in to yet another enabling action. See yourself saying no. And take note of what you're experiencing. What's happening within your body? How do you look? How are your muscles moving as you mouth the word no? How do you feel? What's different? Now open your eyes. And as you take stock, determine where you are and where you need to make adjustment. You just said no to something that you've not been able to do before. You've positively affirmed that you're going to do something different. Your natural inquisitiveness is saying, hey, this is new. You may feel empowered or thriving, that you've got this. You could feel a little concerned as you adjust to this new feeling. You're not quite sure about it. You can practice as much as you wish. And you may say, no, I'm not able to navigate this. And if you're not sure that you can't do it, then you may in need of a further assistance to seek out the help of a medical professional. You want to make sure that you're not introducing trauma or anxiety. It's okay if you feel that it's a struggle for you. Just get some in-depth analysis or assessment. For if the mere thought of saying no to something is not serving you and making you feel anxious, you may need to dig a little bit deeper to address your root cause for underlying concerns. And you never have to navigate alone. And sometimes if you try to positively affirm, that doesn't always work for people. And it's okay if it doesn't. You can just say it differently. So instead of saying no, you can say, instead of blank, I am blank, or I will blank. That's making a personal commitment to yourself. Do's and don'ts. Acknowledge your warning signs and triggers. Learn what makes you tick. Move your body and increase your physicality. Get rest. Sleep does the body good. It promotes healing and restores balance. Hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. Good hydration is the first step to becoming balanced. Phone a friend. Get a buddy or a coach to help encourage, inspire, and hold accountability. Buddies are good because they help you and you help them. And you can positively affirm it. And if you are comfortable, practice saying no. Visualize it first. Acknowledge how you feel. And don't overthink it. Just identify and acknowledge. Don't create artificial deadlines for this process or goals or objective. Remember, it's one moment, one day at a time. You can stay present. Just focus on today, here and now. Just for today, I am balancing, connecting my left and right. Don't focus on what you perceive you're losing or giving up. Instead, focus on what you're gaining. For example, I am gaining quality personal time back in my day instead of working extra long hours. Don't be afraid to ask for help or guidance. Support is always available. Don't compare yourself to others. Your path and journey is unique to you. Here are a couple of physical activities you can incorporate to help you restore your balance. Yoga, Pilates, stretching, Qigong. All of these restore your equilibrium because it intentionally is designed to connect your left and your right sides, terminating or meeting at the center, focusing on your core. And it is a natural stress reliever. Starting a daily journal to record your accountability and track your progress. For example, today I walked an extra block, or I had an apple instead of a salty snack. I went to bed 1 hour earlier than yesterday. I practiced boundaries. You can do breathing exercises. You can take the exercise we did at the beginning of our discussion today, or just sit quietly and breathe in and out. You can affirm by closing your eyes and visualizing yourself positively successful, balanced with yourself in the state of the existence that you wish, realizing that the influence your thoughts have over your actions and the effect your actions can have on your mind, body, and soul can change. Meditate. Allow the mind to rest. Think of nothing for 5 minutes. And if you wander, just return to your present moment and add your breathing. You can do this all throughout your day. It helps restore your balance. And laugh. Tap into your happiness. Laughter triggers endorphins and it helps your blood circulate through the body. It helps connect the left and the right sides of the body through your center. That's why you feel so good after a really good laugh. Stress hormones live in our bellies. So if you notice after a really hearty laugh, you'll sometimes grab your stomach or your belly area. That's the balancing out of the stress in the belly. So take a moment to engage in some jokes or funny material during the day. Get outside. If you can go out for 15 minutes to get some fresh air and some sunlight, connecting to nature restores your balance. Physical muscle movement, our eyes, inner ear, all are key areas for our overall equilibrium. And when we take care of them, we can focus on where and when we need to make adjustment and when restoration is necessary. It helps us establish boundaries, embrace healthy acts of selflessness, and replacing selfishness with self-care. And as you begin to practice things that will help you restore your left and your right side through your center, congratulations, you have found your balance. Thanks for tuning in. I hope today's insights help you on personal journey towards a healthier, happier life. Don't forget to join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday at 8 a.m. Eastern for more self-care and holistic wellness tips. Before you go, make sure to click the bell, like, and subscribe buttons for upcoming episode notifications. Be sure to always consult a medical professional before making any major changes regarding your health, diet, or routine. In the meanwhile, stay motivated, stay inspired, and remember, every step you take is one step closer to a better you. Until next time, keep flourishing, and as always, may all be well.